Hi, I'm Jack and welcome back to Off the Chain with me, Jack. And today we've got another pattern release for you. This is the Beanie-Clava. The idea for this came to me sort of in a bit of a weird way. I saw a product that was already manufactured on TikTok shop and thought, I could make a better version of that. And this is how the Beanie-Clava was born. The brim just rolls down to make it into a balaclava. And if not, it sits as a really lovely beanie with a wide brim. It's made in 4-ply wool, and this is obviously a different colour to the Beanie-Clava that I'm currently wearing. But this is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply. It's a 75%, 25% wool nylon blend, and I love working with this stuff. I would say this is an intermediate or advanced beginner pattern, just because it's a bit fiddly working with a 3.5mm hook and 4-ply. The pattern starts out in a very similar way to the Best Beanie Hat Ever pattern that is also available on my YouTube, and then obviously there are changes to give it the lovely long brim. Remember, the written instructions for this pattern are also on Substack for free, and you can follow me on TikTok for the latest updates on all the new patterns that are coming for free to you soon. I hope you enjoy, and now I'll pass you over to the hands at the table. So for this pattern you will need 4-ply yarn. Now I'm using this one by the West Yorkshire Spinners. This is their signature 4-ply. It's one of my favourites. It's a 75% wool, 25% nylon blend, and I just really love it. I love the colourways it comes in. I love how it is to work with. I love what it feels like. I love the smell of it. It just smells like sheep. And this is in the colour Penny Royal. You will need about 150 grams, so that's 2 balls of this. And the reason I like using this for smaller projects like this is it is a bit pricey. It's about £10 a ball to buy. So I don't really love making full jumpers out of it because then the jumpers become quite expensive. But for little projects like this, I don't mind spending a bit more on wool. You will also need a 3.5mm hook. You're also going to need a 4mm crochet hook. I'm daft and I forgot to mention it. You only literally need it for one bit, but you will need a 4mm as well as your 3.5. And you will need darning needles to weave in your ends at the end. So we're going to start by placing a slip knot on our hook. Now you can use the magic circle method for this at the start, but I just much prefer to do a chain 3 and then slip stitch back into my first chain to make a loop. I've had trouble with my magic ring my entire crochet life and I can never quite get it to hold. So I just prefer to do a chain 3 and then slip stitch back into that first chain to create a lovely tiny little loop to work into. So we're going to start by doing a foundation double crochet. So to do our foundation double crochet, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're going into that little loop that we've made out of that chain 3. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops, and I'm then going to then going to insert my hook into half of that stitch. So I had 2 loops there, insert it into half that stitch, pull up and I've got 2 loops again, yarn over and pull through. So some people call it a standing double crochet. I call it a half double crochet, foundation double crochet. We're then going to double crochet directly into that chain 3, 11 more times so that we end up with a total of 12 stitches in this first round. Now, because you're working with 4-ply yarn and a smaller hook, be patient with yourself. It can be a weeny bit fiddly. So we're just going to double crochet into here 11 more times until we have got that total of 12 stitches overall. So I've got my 12 stitches there and I'm just going to slip stitch back into the top of that foundation double crochet we did to start. And now, much like the foundation double crochet we did, we're going to work a foundation front post double crochet. And it works in very similar way. So we're going to go round the post of that foundation stitch we did of the previous round, yarn over and pull up a loop, and pull through both those loops, yarn over and pull through both those loops. We're then going to go through half of it that we've just created, pull up 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both of those. So we've now got that first foundation stitch, and that's how every round of this pattern starts. Now this second round is an increase round. We're going to double our stitches, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to work into the spaces in between each of the double crochets, as well as working the double crochets in a front post and back post manner. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go double crochet into this space between our foundation stitch and that first double crochet, and we're then going to work a back post double crochet. We're then going to work into the space next between those stitches. We're then going to work a front post double crochet, and then I'm going to work into the space between these stitches, and then work round the next stitch to work that back post double crochet. And when you're working with this thinner yarn and a smaller hook, it can be a bit fiddly, especially these first rounds. So do be patient with yourself into that space between the next 2 stitches. And just pay attention to where you're working, and then a back post double crochet. And then, oh, and see, I've got that wrong there. And then a front post double crochet. And then into the space between those stitches. And then a back post double crochet. And then into the space between those stitches. And then a front post double crochet. And so if you want to keep working around in that configuration, and I'll meet you at the end of this round and at the start of the next. So I'm just doing my last increase stitch in between the last double crochet of the round before and the foundation stitch of the round before. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that foundation front post double crochet I did to start the round. And at the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches all the way around. So if you want to count your stitches and make sure you've got 24, I would highly recommend doing that. For this third round, we're just going to work a normal round, so no increases. We're going to do front post and back post double crochets, alternating all the way around. So we're going to start by doing a foundation front post double crochet, like I said, we start every round with. And then we're going to do a back post double crochet. And then a front post double crochet. And some of these stitches might be a bit of a fight because they were back posts in the round before or front posts in the round before or something like that, and you're doing the alternate. So just be aware of that when you're working. And now, so I'm just alternating those front post and back post double crochets all the way around those 24 stitches we've now got. So if you want to keep working those and join me back at the start of the round, and I will see you as we start the next round. So I'm just working my last back post double crochet, and then I'm slip stitching into that foundation front post that I started the round with. And for our fourth round, you guessed it, it's another increase round. But for this round, we're only going to increase every other group. Now, the way that I want you to think about a group is I want you to look at your 2 front post double crochet stitches that we've done. So you can see 2 there and 2 there and 2 there. And so you can see 1 group, 2 group, 3 group. Now we're only going to increase in the odd numbered groups. So I'll talk you through it. It's probably easier to explain it and show you at the same time. So I'm going to start as normal with my foundation front post double crochet, and now I'm going to increase as we did on that second round. So that's in between those stitches, then do my back post double crochet, then in between the stitches, then do my front post double crochet, and then I'm going to work a back post double crochet as normal without any increased stitches being added in, and a front post double crochet as normal without any increased stitches being added in. And now I'm going to work increased stitches in the next couple. So I'm going to do an increased stitch and then a back post double crochet and an increased stitch in that space and then a front post double crochet and then no increased stitches. So I'm just going to do a back post double crochet followed by a front post double crochet. And then I'm going to do increased stitches. So an increase and a back post and an increase and a front post. And then no increases, so just that back post. So if you want to keep working around in that pattern, doing those increases in every other little set, and I'll meet you back at the start as we go in to working our next round. And so you should finish with a back post double crochet, no increases. And at the end of this round, if you want to count your stitches, you should have 36 stitches all the way around. You've increased by another 12, and we're going to slip stitch into that foundation front post that we did. And so for our fifth round, we're going to work a normal round, so no increases. And so I'm going to do a foundation front post double crochet around my stitch. And then a back post double crochet, and I'm just going to work those alternating stitches. And again, remember, because we've added in those stitches, you can feel a bit weird. Like for instance there, that's a back post, but I'm doing a front post into it. And then a back post, and then a front post, and then a back post. So if you want to just keep working those alternating front post and back post double crochets all the way around, and I'll meet you at the start of the round. So I'm just finishing up that final back post double crochet, and I'm slip stitching into the top of that foundation front post that I started with. And so we're now going to move on to round number 6. So I've got round 1, 2, 3, 4, just done round number 5. And this is an increase round again, round number 6. And it's the same as our previous increase round. So we're going to do that foundation front post double like we did before. And then we're going to work into the gap, work that next back post double crochet, work into the gap for that increased stitch, and work that front post double crochet. And then we're not going to work an increase, so we're just going to work that back post double crochet. And then the front post double crochet, and then we are going to increase. So we're going to do that increased stitch, the back post double crochet, and the next increased stitch, and then the front post double crochet. And then we're just going to do the back post double crochet and a front post double crochet, no increases. And then we're now going to add those increases in again. So we're going to do that in between the 2 stitches for our increase stitch, work the back post. So if you want to keep working around exactly the same as our previous increase round, working every other little group as an increase, and I will meet you back at the start of the round. So I'm just working the last set of increases because when you get round back towards your first foundation front post that you did, you will see that you end up with, if you can see here, 2 more areas. So I've done an increase here, this would be a normal, and then we would finish with an increase, but we're not going to do that. We're going to just work both of these as normal sections. So I've done that lot of increases. I'm now just going to work that back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, and slip stitch into that foundation front post double that we did. And if you want to count your stitches all the way around, you should have 80 stitches. And at this point, I would recommend just giving it a little count. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So I've counted my stitches, I've got 80 stitches, and we're going to work the next round as a normal round. So that's just that front post and back post double crochet alternating. So I'm going to start with that front post foundation like we do every round, and then I'm going to work a back post double crochet. And so we're going to just work this next round, like I said, in that normal way, alternating those front post and back post double crochets. So if you want to go ahead and do that, alternate those front post and back post double crochets, and I will meet you back round at the start of the round. So I'm just finishing off round 9 with my last couple of front post and back post double crochets, and I'm slip stitching into that starting foundation double front post double that we did. And so our next round is going to be another increase round, and it's actually our last increase round. And so for this round, it's something a little bit different. So we're going to start with our foundation front post double like we did before, and like we do every round. Are you sick of me saying that yet? And then we're going to do an increase. So we're going to go in that space in the top of the stitch there, then do our back post, then in the space between those stitches, and then the front post. And then we're going to do 2 normal gaps. So we're going to just do our back post double crochet, and then our front post double crochet, and then another back post double crochet in the next one, and then a front post double crochet, and then we're going to do our increases again. So we're going to just do our double crochet into that space between the stitches, our back post double crochet, our second increase stitch of this little group in between the stitches, and then our front post double crochet. And then we're going to do 2 normal ones without any increases, so we're just going to go straight into that back post. Oh, missed my stitch there. Straight into the next front post, straight into the next back post, straight into the next front post, and now we're adding in our increased stitches again. So we're going to add in that double crochet in the space, back post double crochet, increase into that space, and then our front post double crochet, and then 2 normal. So you can see how the pattern goes all the way around. We do the increase, 2 little normal sets, increase, 2 little normal sets. If you want to keep following that rhythm and that pattern all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I am just working the last of that increase stitching that I need to do for this round. So back post double crochet, increase stitch in the next gap, front post double crochet. And as you get round to the start of this round, you will see that we actually have 3 sections to go in. So what we can do is we can go normal, normal, increase, but then we'd have 2 increases bunched together, and we're just not a fan. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to do 3 normal goes. So we're going to skip what essentially should be an increase right at the end of the round. And we're just going to do our back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, and then slip stitch into that starting stitch. And you have just completed round number 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. Now, all we're going to do for the next 24 rounds, so until you get to round 34, and this is where I would maybe consider getting a little piece of paper and ticking them off as you go, is we're going to just do normal rounds, no increases. So we're just going to do that foundation front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet, alternating around and around and around for 24 rounds. So go and stick your favourite TV show on Netflix, listen to a podcast or an audiobook, or go and scroll through my TikTok or watch my other videos on YouTube to get some inspiration. And 24 rounds is what we're going to do. And then I will join you once I have completed that. So you're aiming for round 34 in total. So you'll end up with 34 rounds in total, because at round 35, we're going to break and split for the eye hole, because obviously after all, this is a Beanie-Clava. We need to have a little pokey out eye hole to be able to look through. So go and work those rounds. You're aiming for 108 stitches in each round. It should be between now and then. So if you've got 108, you're all right. But in all honesty, as long as you've got an even number and it works out, I wouldn't worry too much. If you're missing a couple, it's not the end of the world. So keep working, and I will join you once I have completed all of those rounds. So I am just finishing up the last couple of stitches of round 34. Now, one thing to note is, as you're making your hat, do try it on, because round 34 I found is a pretty universal length for it sort of to sit just above everyone's eyebrows or eyeline. But if you've got a really short head, you might want it to be a bit shorter. So we've just finished up round 34, and we're now going to move on to round 35, and this is where we're going to break for the eyes. So we're going to do our foundation front post double crochet as we always do, and then we are going to do back post and front post double crochets into the next 80 stitches. So you want to have 81 total with that first one, and we're going to leave the last 27 stitches empty. So you should finish on a front post double crochet. So if you want to go and continue following the pattern all the way around until you've done that 81 stitch total and you've got 27 left, I will leave you here and join you when I've done those 81. So I am just finishing up the last 2 stitches before I stop, because now, as you can see here, I've got the start of the round here. I've worked all the way around, and I've just finished this round here. So in this gap, I've got 27 stitches, and it doesn't look very wide, but once it's on your head, it does stretch. So there will be a lot of give and measurement there for your eyes. So now we're going to simply turn our work, and we're going to work back round to the start of the round that we just did. So our first stitch, because we worked a front post double crochet, we would obviously normally start with a foundation front post double, but we're not going to, because we're going to keep our ribbed pattern. So we're going to start with a foundation double crochet. So we're just going to pop our hook into the top of the last stitch that we did of the previous round, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through both of those. And then we're going to insert our hook through half or one of those two loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull that through as well. And then we're going to continue working our front post and back post rib all the way back around to the start. So if you want to pause the video here and continue working your front post and back post double crochets all the way around back to the start, and I'll join you there when I'm done. So I have just got to the last couple of stitches and I am back at the start of the last round, and you can just do a back post double crochet around that last stitch, and then all we're going to do is again turn our work. And all we're going to do now this time is we're going to do our foundation front post double. So we're going to go round the post as we've done before, pull up that loop, pull through both, go through half of it, pull up that second loop, pull through them both, and then we're going to continue and work all the way back around to where we started. And that first back post double crochet can be a little bit tricky and finicky, but once you've done that one, the rest is perfectly normal. So what we're doing here is we're actually adding in 3 rows around the majority of the Beanie-Clava, and we're leaving that 27 stitch gap as the eye hole. So if you want to keep working, and what I will do is I will keep working all the way back round to the other side of where we've just come from, and I will join you over there to close up the eye hole. So if you keep working, and I'll join you all the way around there to close up the eye hole. So I'm just doing the last couple of stitches all the way back around, and you can finish with that front post double crochet. There we go. And if you look at it now, you can see that in essence what we have created is a lovely eye hole just here like this. So what we're going to do now is close it up. So this is where we're going to pop our 3.5mm hook down just for 1 second, and we're going to take a 4mm hook and we're going to pop it back into exactly the stitch that we were just working. So just straight back into that loop, and we're now, oh, I've got mine twisted, and we're now going to chain 27 for the 27 stitches that we missed in that front bit. So we're going to go 1, 2. So I've chained my 27, and now all I'm going to do is slip stitch into the top of the foundation stitch we did at the start of this round. And because you're kind of slip stitching with the chain, it can be a little bit fiddly, but there you go. And then I'm going to switch back to my 3.5mm hook, and you can totally reside your 4.5mm hook back into your pencil case or wherever you store them now. And the reason we do that with a 4mm is because it allows it to have a bit more stretch than if we just did it with a 3.5. And we're going to start the next round. Now this is round number 38. And for the start of round number 38, we're going to do our foundation front post double crochet like we've been doing all along. And then we're going to do our back post double crochet in the next stitch, as we've been doing all along. And then our front post double crochet, and we're going to repeat our front and back post double crochets all the way around until we get to that chain right at the other side. So if you work those front post and back post double crochets, and I will join you round the other side when I get there, and we'll start working into the chain, and I'll talk you through doing that. So I'm just working the last few front posts and back posts before I get back to the chains. And so I've worked all the way around. And that last one, it's a front post double crochet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work a half double crochet into every single chain stitch. So we're going to work 27 half double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into this first chain. Now, if you want to, you can go into the back bumps and do all sorts. I'm not going to, but you can if you want. And so we're going to half double crochet into the next chain. And we're going to do those half double crochets in every single chain all the way along. Just take your time, because they can be a little bit fiddly, as we know, with these sorts of working into chains. I always find it infuriating. It's like doing the first round of every project. Drives me up the wall. And when you finish them all, do count them. Make sure you've got 27, because if you don't, you will come up scuppered. So we're going to do 27 half double crochets. So if you want to continue working those into the chain, and I will meet you at the start of the round once we've finished them. So I'm just working my last half double crochet. And now I've worked my 27 all along that chain, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that foundation front post double that we did right at the start of the round. And now all you're going to do for the rest of the entire of the Beanie-Clava is work in repeating rounds of those front post and back post double crochets. When you get round to the half double crochets that we've just done, you're just going to work around the entirety of the half double crochet, like so. So just pop your hook in, pop a good TV show on, and get working away. Start with that foundation from post double like we do at the beginning of every round, and just keep going, making sure you've got those 108 stitches in every round. So you might want to stop every now and then and count them all, but I won't worry about it too much. And this first round as well will always be a bit sticky, because you've got to go into a chain, so it's just a bit of a faff, but just hold it steady and you'll be fine. And so I'm going to keep working. Now you might be thinking, Jack, how many rounds do I do? Well, if you're making it for yourself, you can do as many rounds as you like. Keep trying it on, see what you think. If you're making this for somebody else, I would recommend going until you have 70 rounds total. So that's 70 from here to here. Remembering that this round we've just started is round 39. So it'd be another 30 rounds, or 31 rounds, I should say, after this. So anyway, go and pop a good television show on. Just work those front post and back post double crochets all the way around. And I will see you when I have finished all 70 rows for myself, and we will talk through finishing it off, weaving the ends and doing some single crochets around the eye hole. So I am just finishing off round 70, and I apologise profusely for this objectively bad filming angle. I'm actually away on holiday and wanted to finish this off, but forgot my tripod, so we're working with what we've got. You're actually currently propped up on a ledge with a bottle of gin, so do with that as you may. I'm finishing round 70 off. Now you can do one of two things. Here you can either just slip stitch into that foundation front post double that we started the round with, that's up to you, and then fasten off, or you can do an invisible join, which is what I'm going to do, and I'll show you how we do it now. So I've cut my yarn and I've just pulled it all the way through that last stitch, and now I'm just going to thread this end onto a darning needle. This is actually so low-key difficult because of the wall in the way. There we go. Thread it onto a darning needle. And now you're going to take that end, we're going to post it underneath the stitch after our foundation front post double crochet that we started the round with. And then you're going to go back down your last stitch and pull it nice and tight. And you end up with this really cool looking invisible join. And we're then going to go back underneath it and then back through. And you can do that a few times just to sort of tighten it off. And if you've made this in a wool blend, then the fibres of natural wool are very good at sort of binding themselves to one another. So pull it all through, and then I'm going to flip my hat inside out, or just so that I can see the inside, and I'm going to work some, basically just a bit of a long weave to weave in this end, but the longer you do it, then obviously the more likely it is that it will essentially last. So we're just going to weave it in a good few times. There we go. And then I'm going to snip off this end. Now, I didn't bring any scissors with me. I only bought nail clippers. So there we go. And you have got a finished Beanie-Clava. Now, one thing I will do now as an optional extra that you can do, and I'll show you this, is put a ring of single crochet around the eye hole. Now, this is completely optional, but I do think it just looks quite smart. So we're just going to add a slip knot onto our crochet hook, and then I like to start on the side. And in each row, so we've got 3 rows here that we did for those 3 rows here that we did for those front and back stitches to get round. And you're going to just put one in each. So I like to start in the middle one. And do a foundation single crochet, which is just the first half of a foundation double crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. And I'm weaving in this end as I go. So do you know what I mean? I'm holding it flat with the edge of the eye hole. I go into the corner. And then when you're working along, rather than working into the top of each stitch, I'm actually going to work in between each stitch. So if you want to keep going, and I will join you when I've got all the way back round to the start, and we will fasten off together. Now I've just gone into the last gap on the end there, so I'm going to go into the corner here. And then I'm working down the other side of the eye hole now. So I'm going to just place 1 for each row that we did. So 1 around the edge there, 1 around the middle row into the side of it, 1 into the side of the last row, and then again into the corner. And then I'm just going to work all the way along the bottom like I did the other side. So keep going, and I will join you when I finish. And I'm just coming up to the end here. I've got a couple more, so that's the last gap. This is the last corner. I started in the middle, so I'm going to just place 1 more in that bottom stitch in the side of it, and then you can either slip stitch into that first single crochet or do an invisible join, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I've cut my yarn there, pulled it through my last stitch, thread that onto my darning needle, and then I'm going to work underneath that second stitch that we did, if you can see that there, down the top of one of those first stitches, and then through and pull it nice and tight. And then I'm actually just going to turn the Beanie-Clava inside out again so I can start working through these inside stitches, and you'd be surprised how well this will hold. But what I will say is, if you're someone that doesn't really weave in their ends super well, Do it well, and even then as well, one thing you can do is you could even fasten it off with a little knot inside once you've weaved in a little bit, but I actually will trust the process for this one. There we go. I'm going to snip that end. And you have got a finished Beanie-Clava. And how good does that eye hole look now that you've done that single crochet around the edge? Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this pattern. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on all the links below. Bye.